I surprised my wife at work, and what I discovered changed everything. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. The 911 dispatcher says my address back to me like it's a question, and my wife starts crying before I even hang up. I'm standing in the stairwell of Cedar Ridge Medical Center with my back against cold concrete. My paramedic ID still clipped to my belt from shift, and Sophie is on the step below me like her bones forgot how to hold her up. My left hand is still shaking from dialing. My right is holding her phone, because she shoved it at me and whispered, "Don't answer if it rings." On the landing, a security camera blinks its tiny red light. Down the hall, someone is laughing. Normal, bright, like this is just another Tuesday. 2 months ago, we were arguing about paint colors for the nursery we weren't sure we deserved to try for. Yesterday, we were laughing in our kitchen while she showed me a dumb video of a corgi in a raincoat. This morning, I kissed her goodbye and promised I'd swing by her office with lunch for our anniversary, like a cheesy movie husband trying to do one thing right. Now there's a smear of blood on the edge of her thumbnail, like she scraped it on something metal, and she keeps rubbing her ring finger like it burns. I keep my voice low. "Tell me what's happening." She shakes her head so hard her ponytail slaps her cheek. Mascara dots her top. She doesn't wear scrubs to the admin wing. That's the first wrong thing. The second is the badge hanging off her lanyard. Sophia Harlow, contract compliance. I touch it, like it might turn back into my wife if I press the plastic. "Where's your real badge?" I ask. She looks at me like I just said a forbidden word. "Please," she whispers. "Just listen." Footsteps echo below. Sophie grabs my wrist with a grip I've only felt when I pulled a kid out of a wreck. "Mark, you can't be here." "I work here," I say, and immediately hate how small it sounds. She leans closer, breath minty with panic. "If they see you with me, you're not safe." It's calm, amused, and too close for a stairwell. A door opens somewhere, and a man's voice says my name perfectly. I met Sophie in the least romantic place possible. The break room on the third floor, over burnt coffee and a vending machine that ate her dollar like it was offended. She was wearing a cardigan over hospital scrubs, hair in a messy knot, and she laughed at herself so easily that I wanted to be around it. I was a new paramedic then, exhausted and cocky, convinced I could fix anything if I just tried harder. Sophie worked in billing and compliance, paperwork, codes, audits. The stuff everyone rolled their eyes at until it saved their job. We built a life out of routine. Her early mornings, my weird shifts, late-night grocery runs where we debated which cereal was adult enough. We weren't rich. We were careful. We had a shared spreadsheet for savings and a rule that we didn't fight past midnight because tired versions of us were crueler than the truth. The last year had been heavier. Not dramatic, just the slow grind. She'd come home quiet more often. I was a little too focused on nothing. I blamed stress, blamed the hospital, blamed the world. When I asked, she always gave me something. New software rollout. Compliance training. Gavin's team is a nightmare. Gavin was her boss's special consultant, the kind of man who wore suits like armor and called everyone kiddo, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Still, Sophie and I were solid. Or at least that's what I told myself. We didn't have secrets. We didn't do silent treatment. We did check-ins on Sundays and stupid inside jokes about the old elevator that groaned like a dying whale. Our anniversary mattered because it was proof we were still us. I planned the surprise like a simple equation. Flowers plus lunch plus her favorite lemon cookies equals her smile. She even texted me that morning, "Love you. Busy day. See you tonight." I wrote back, "Surprise at noon." No reply. That should have bothered me more than it did. I parked in the visitor garage at 11:47 a.m., juggling a paper bag and a small bouquet, thinking about how she'd roll her eyes and kiss me anyway. At the lobby desk, the guard scanned my ID, glanced at the camera, and lowered his voice. He said, "She's not listed under Sophie Bennett anymore, sir." The guard tried to play it off like a database glitch, but his hand hovered over the phone behind the desk like he'd already been told what to do if I showed up. "I'm her husband," I said, keeping my voice friendly. "She works upstairs. Billing." He swallowed. "Admin wing's restricted today. You can call her." I did, I lied. My phone was in my pocket, screen dark, because I didn't want to admit she hadn't answered me all morning. He printed a temporary visitor sticker anyway, "Visitor, Mark B," and slid it across like it was contraband. Stay in public areas, he said, and added, too fast. Congratulations on whatever it is. I rode the elevator up with a surgeon and a tired-looking mom pushing a stroller. The elevator pinged and opened to the admin floor, quieter than the clinical chaos I knew. Carpet instead of tile. Artwork that looked expensive but empty. The first wrong detail hit me in the hallway, Sophie's laugh. Not the one she used with me. This was brighter, higher, practiced. It floated out of conference room C, the one with frosted glass and a keypad lock. The second wrong detail was visual. Through the frosted panel, I saw her silhouette lean towards someone in a suit, and her hand touched his forearm like a signal. Then the keypad beeped twice, and the door clicked shut. I stood there, stupidly holding lemon cookies, staring at the little red in used light. A woman in a navy blazer rounded the corner with a clipboard. Late 30s, sharp eyes, hair pulled back tight. She slowed when she saw the flowers. Can I help you? She asked. I held up the bag. My wife's in there. Her gaze dropped to my sticker, then to the keypad. Who's your wife? Sophie Bennett. Something flashed across her face, recognition, then fear, then the careful blankness people put on before they lie. She isn't, the woman said quietly. Not today. Before I could respond, the door opened a crack, and I caught a slice of the room. Sophie's face pale, Gavin's hand on the back of her chair, and a folder stamped confidential with my last name on it. Sophie's eyes met mine, and she mouthed one word, run. I didn't run. I froze like an idiot, because my brain kept insisting this was some misunderstanding that would correct itself if I just stood still long enough. Sophie stood up too fast, chair legs screeching. Gavin rose behind her, smiling like we were all old friends. Mark, he said, warm as a hug. You must be Sophie's husband. I cut in. My voice sounded wrong in that carpeted room. Sophie stepped between us like she could block the entire situation with her body. You weren't supposed to come, she said, and that should have been sweet, teasing. Instead it was clipped, panicked, like a medic telling you not to touch a live wire. I brought lunch, I said, lifting the bag. Anniversary. Gavin chuckled. Adorable, but we're in a sensitive meeting. Sophie nodded too quickly. It's compliance, she said. An audit thing. I can't talk right now. I looked past her. The folder on the table wasn't generic. It had a label, Bennett, Mark, incident summary. My stomach dropped like an elevator cable snapped. What incident? I asked. Sophie's eyes flicked to Gavin, just for a heartbeat, like she was checking if she was allowed to answer. There's no incident, she said, too fast. It's a mistake. Gavin leaned back in his chair, still smiling. Hospitals are paperwork factories, Mark. Names get recycled. Then he tapped the keypad panel twice, and the light turned red. Locked. On cue, the hallway guard appeared in the doorway like he'd been waiting. Sir, you need to step out. I stared at Sophie. Can we talk? 5 minutes. Her jaw tightened. Not here, she whispered. Not today. The woman with the clipboard, Tara, her badge red, hovered by the door, eyes darting between Gavin and me like she was tracking a fight. The guard guided me out with a firm, polite hand. In the hall, Tara's voice dropped to a thread. I'm sorry, she said, not looking at me. You really shouldn't have seen that. What is that folder? I demanded. She hesitated, then slid her clipboard against my arm as she walked past. A sticky note clung to the back, hidden under the metal clip. It had one line, written in block letters. Check your wife's second phone tonight. My heart thudded hard enough to hurt my ribs. By the time my shift ended, the flowers were wilted in my passenger seat like they'd been punished for my optimism. I drove home on autopilot, replaying Sophie's face when she mouthed run. Not sorry. Not wait. Run. Like I was the danger. At our apartment, I put the cookies in the fridge and stared at the family calendar on the wall, the one Sophie made because she said chaos only feels romantic in movies. There was a block tomorrow labeled G, site visit, in her neat handwriting. Gavin. When she walked in at 7:18 p.m., she moved like someone trying not to set off alarms. She kissed my cheek, light as a receipt, and went straight to the sink to wash her hands. Hey, I said, forcing normal. Your office seemed tense today. She didn't look up. Yeah. I saw a folder with my name on it. Her hands paused under the water, then resumed. Probably a patient incident report. You're a paramedic. Your name gets attached to charts. That folder said incident summary, I pressed. About me. She turned the faucet off with her wrist, slow and deliberate. Mark, did you bring lunch to the admin floor without checking if I was available? Because it was our anniversary, I said, and my voice cracked on the last word like I was 16. She exhaled, then smiled, tight. I know. I'm sorry. It was a bad moment. I tried a softer angle, the one we used when we were stuck. Are you okay? I'm fine. Are you in trouble? No. Is Gavin? Her head snapped up. Don't say his name like that. Like what? Like someone who'd noticed? She walked past me and sat on the couch, folding her legs under her like she was bracing. We're under review, she said carefully. There's an audit. It's confidential. That's all. That badge, I said. It didn't have your name. Her eyes flicked away. Temporary contractor badge. For a permanent employee? She didn't answer. Instead, she reached for my hand and squeezed too hard. Please, just trust me for a week. A week. Not forever. Not, I'll explain. Just delay. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. Unknown number. Sophie's grip tightened until my fingers went numb. Don't, she whispered, eyes glossy. If you answer, they'll know you're involved. The call went to voicemail, and her face went gray when it stopped ringing. After Sophie fell asleep. If that was sleep. She kept jerking like she was hearing things. I sat at the kitchen table with my phone and the cold feeling that my own home had shifted 2 inches to the left. I listened to the voicemail. A man's voice, smooth and bored. Mark Bennett. This is Gavin Hale. We need to clear up a documentation issue. Call me first thing tomorrow. He said it like we'd already spoken, like I owed him. I stared at Sophie's purse on the counter. I'd never gone through her things. The idea felt gross, like violating something sacred. But so did the badge with the wrong name. So did the folder with my last name. I told myself I was looking for an explanation, not a secret. Her purse held normal stuff. Lip balm, receipts, a grocery list written on the back of an insurance brochure. Then my fingers hit something hard under the lining. A second phone, cheap, black, powered off. My pulse jumped. Burner phones were something I saw on true crime documentaries and in the pockets of guys we Narcan behind gas stations, not in my wife's purse. I turned it on. No lock screen. No cute photo. Just a blank homepage with 3 apps, messages, notes, and a voice recorder. The newest text thread was saved as T. The last message was from Sophie, timestamped 3:02 p.m., right after she told me she couldn't talk. Sophie, he showed up with flowers. Gavin is furious. T. I warned you. You have to keep him away. Sophie, I tried. He doesn't understand. T. Then make him understand before Gavin does it for you. My mouth went dry. I scrolled further. Another thread. Ruiz. Only 2 messages. Ruiz, do not confront. Bring any documents you can photograph. Sophie, if Mark finds out, he'll get hurt. I stared at that line until the letters blurred. In the Notes app, there was a list of dates and amounts, like someone tracking rent payments, except the amounts were in the tens of thousands. Next to one entry. Hale Consulting, $47,500, transfer confirmed. My hands were sweating. I turned the phone off and put it back where I found it, because the sound of the front door lock clicking made my blood freeze. Sophie was standing in the hallway, watching me in the dark. What are you doing up? I asked, trying to sound like a husband, not a suspect. Sophie's eyes flicked to the kitchen table, to my phone. Couldn't sleep, she said. You either. I got a voicemail, I said careful. From Gavin. Her shoulders tightened. Don't call him. I wasn't going to. I lied, because I already knew I couldn't trust the way she said things anymore. She walked to the bedroom without another word. The door clicked shut, gentle and final, and I started building a timeline. I opened our bank apps. No big alerts, but her personal account showed a transfer on November 3rd for $1,750 to an unfamiliar credit union. The next morning, instead of sleeping after shift, I went back to Cedar Ridge in uniform. People see a paramedic shirt and assume you belong anywhere. At medical records, I asked for any incident summary filed under my name. The clerk typed, frowned, then said, "That file is sealed under compliance." Why? I asked. She shrugged. Special access. Contractual. Contractual. Like that fake badge. In the parking garage, I called the only person I'd met who looked like she wanted to tell me the truth and hated herself for not doing it. The number wasn't on the sticky note, but Tara's name was on the hospital directory, and she answered on the second ring. "Don't say my name," she said before I could speak. "I'm not trying to get anyone fired," I said. "I just need to know if my wife is in danger." Silence. Then a sigh like she'd been holding it since yesterday. "Meet me at the diner on 8th, she said. "No hospital phones." At the diner, Tara kept her back to the wall. "Gavin Hale doesn't work for the hospital," she said. "Not really. He works for himself." "What does that mean?" "It means he buys access," she whispered. "Contracts. Vendors. People." She slid me a folded printout under the napkin dispenser. Badge log. Yesterday. Conference room C. The name at the top wasn't Sophie Bennett. It was Sophia Harlow, and beside it was my own ID number, listed as a linked subject. "Whatever this is, Mark, you're already in it." I went back to work that night and tried to act normal while my brain screamed in the background. Between calls, I pulled up my shift logs. On November 3rd, the same day as the $4,750 transfer, I'd been on a 12-hour run, back-to-back, nowhere near the admin wing. Yet Tara's printout said my ID number was linked to Sophie's badge activity like a leash. So I did the one thing I knew how to do, verify. At 2:06 a.m. in the ambulance bay, I logged into the hospital employee portal and checked my own access history. Most people never look. It's there, buried under security preferences. My stomach flipped. My badge had been used on the admin floor 3 times last week, including yesterday at 12:03 p.m. The exact minute conference room, C locked behind Sophie and Gavin. I was on calls during all of them. Either the system was wrong, or someone had cloned my badge and was using my name as a shield. By morning, I was in my car outside our apartment, staring at the building like I was afraid to go inside. I checked the mailbox on impulse. There was an envelope with no return address, just my name printed like a label. Inside, a single-page agreement titled Mutual Non-Disclosure. Hale Consulting / Cedar Ridge Medical. Yellow highlights, pin marks, and a note in the margin, standard. Signed today. I called Tara, voice low. "He's using my badge and my name," I said. "Because if this blows up, it can't land on Hale," she replied. "It has to land on you." "What is it?" "A vendor fraud," she said. "Phantom consulting hours, billing code, adjustments, approvals backdated. Paper shields." I scanned the highlighted line. Adjustment of patient billing codes to maximize reimbursement. Another, liquidated damages for breach. A fancy way of saying, one signature could bankrupt us. It was dated for today. My hands shook so hard the paper crackled. I flipped it over and saw a faint indentation like someone had pressed hard with a pen. In the signature line, someone had already signed Mark Bennett. I didn't sleep. I sat in my car until the sky went from black to that washed-out hospital parking lot gray. Then I made a list like I was prepping for a call. What I knew, what I could prove, and what could kill me if I guessed wrong. Someone cloned my badge. Gavin Hale was pushing a vendor agreement with my name on it. Sophie was communicating with Tara and someone named Ruiz, and she was terrified. I wanted to shake Sophie awake and demand answers. I also knew what panic does to people. It makes them lie, even to the ones they love, because fear feels like a reason. So I chose the option that felt colder and safer, gather proof first. At home, while Sophie showered, I photographed the NDA and the envelope. I zoomed in on the indentation of my forged signature, the little hook on the K that I've never written in my life. I took screenshots of the access logs on my employee portal and emailed them to a new account I created on the spot, something Sophie wouldn't recognize. I bought a cheap thumb drive from a gas station on the way to work and labeled it taxes like I was hiding it from a burglar. Then I called the number from the burner phone thread, Ruiz. It went to voicemail. I left a message without my name. "This is Mark. I found the NDA. My badge was used when I wasn't there. Tell me what to do." 30 minutes later, an unknown number texted, "Meet me. 10 p.m., South Precinct. Come alone." All day, I watched Sophie from the edges of our normal life. She made coffee. She laughed at a meme I didn't see. She kissed me goodbye like nothing was on fire. When she left for work, I followed at a distance, hating myself, and saw her pull into a different lot than usual, the contractor lot on the far side, near the loading dock. She sat in her car for a full minute before getting out, head bowed like she was praying or listening. What would you do if your spouse begged you not to ask? That evening, as I tucked the thumb drive into my sock drawer, Sophie's purse buzzed on the counter. A screen lit up through the cracked zipper. Gavin, calling now. Sophie stared at her purse like it was a snake, then forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I have to take this, she said, already walking toward the balcony. I followed to the sliding door and stopped just short of eavesdropping, pretending to rinse dishes while my ears strained. Her voice was soft, controlled. Hi, Gavin. A pause. Then, no, he didn't sign anything. Another pause, longer. Her shoulders rose toward her ears. Mark doesn't know, she said, and there it was again. That word, my name, like a bargaining chip. She glanced over her shoulder and saw me. For a second her face cracked, like she was about to say something real. She ended the call fast. I'll handle it, she said, then came inside with both hands open, palms up. Mark, she started. I need to explain. Her phone buzzed immediately. Not the burner. Her real phone. She looked at the screen and went white. Tara, she whispered, like it hurt. She answered, listened, and then all the blood drained from her face in a slow wave. Okay, she said. Okay, I'm coming. She hung up and grabbed her keys. I have to go back in, she said. Tonight? I asked. It's 9. I have to, she snapped, then softened. Please, don't make this harder. Harder than what? I pushed. Her lips trembled. Then keeping you alive. She left before I could respond. I drove to the South Precinct at 9:45, taking side streets. Halfway there, a black SUV turned behind me and stayed behind me through 3 turns it didn't need to make. At a red light, my phone lit up, stopped playing hero. My hands went slick on the steering wheel. When the light turned green, the SUV stayed right on my bumper. I pulled into the precinct lot, and the SUV rolled past, slow, the driver's window down just enough for me to see a man in a suit. Gavin, watching me like I'd amused him. Inside, Detective Ruiz had tired eyes and a voice like sandpaper. He didn't offer me coffee. He didn't ask how I was. He just said, your wife made a mistake bringing you into this. She didn't bring me. I said, you did. You texted me. Ruiz stared at me for a beat, then opened a folder. Ruiz slid a photo across the table, Sophie in handcuffs. The photo wasn't dramatic. Just Sophie in a gray hoodie, wrists cuffed in front, eyes squeezed shut like she was trying to hold herself together. My throat tightened. When was this? 3 weeks ago, Ruiz said. Staged. Internal operation. Your wife volunteered. Volunteered for handcuffs. She's been feeding us documentation on Hale for months, he said. Contracts, kickbacks, billing code manipulation. He's using patient care as leverage. Then why does my name show up? I asked, shoving my phone across the table with the access logs. Ruiz scrolled, jaw tightening. Because Hale spreads liability. If the feds come down, he wants signatures from normal people. Like me. Ruiz nodded. Like you. And Sophie. I forced out. Is she a victim or part of it? Ruiz held my gaze. She's in a bind, he said. Trying to get out without getting crushed. He slid a calendar invite across the table. Reconciliation meeting. Attendees, Gavin Hale, Tara Nguyen, Sophia Harlow. Conference room C. Tomorrow, 12:15 p.m. We need Hale in a room with receipts, Ruiz said. HR compliance present. Tara as witness. Your wife in the room, so Hale can't rewrite the story. My stomach rolled. She'll hate me. She might, Ruiz said. But she'll be alive to hate you. That morning Sophie texted. Sorry. Long night. Please don't ask questions today. I typed back, okay. Then I forwarded Ruiz the NDA photos and wrote, I'll be there at 12:15. Tara arrived first, eyes rimmed red, and slipped into the room without meeting my gaze. A woman from HR compliance followed. No nonsense, legal pad in hand. The kind of calm that comes from knowing policy is a weapon. Sophie came last. She looked like she'd slept in her car. The fake badge hung from her neck again, Sophia Harlow. When she saw me, her face tightened with betrayal and relief at the same time. Mark, she breathed. I kept my voice steady. Sit down, I said gently. Please. Her eyes flashed. Don't. Not here. Then Gavin's shoes clicked in the hall. At noon, I stood outside conference room C again, hands empty, heart slamming, and watched the keypad light blink green as Gavin arrived. Gavin smiled and set a recorder between us, already recording. The recorder's red light blinked like a heartbeat. Gavin took the head seat, hands folded, smile polished. Let's be efficient, he said. This is a reconciliation meeting. Across from him, Delaney from HR Compliance opened a legal pad. Tara sat rigid, eyes on the door. Sophie wouldn't look at me. I slid the NDA across the table. Explain the forged signature, I said. Mine. Gavin didn't touch it. Standard NDA, he replied. Your household benefits from hospital paychecks, yes? That isn't an answer, Delaney said. I pulled up my access logs and set my phone down. My badge was used on the admin floor while I was on calls, I said. 3 times, including yesterday at 12:03. Tara's face went chalky. Sophie's throat bobbed like she was swallowing glass. Gavin finally looked annoyed. Security systems are messy, he said. Everyone wants a villain. Delaney's pen moved. Mr. Hale, we're escalating this to law enforcement. Gavin's gaze slid to Sophie, and his voice turned soft. Sophia. Sophie flinched at the alias like it burned. Stop calling me that, she said. I stared. Why is the badge Sophia Harlow? Sophie's eyes filled. Because he needed me to look like a contractor, she said. So the access didn't point to the hospital. Gavin's smile returned, thin. Careful, he murmured. You're recording yourself now. Delaney's jaw tightened. Sophie, what exactly is happening? Sophie's hands shook. Hale Consulting billed for services we didn't receive, she said. He pressured teams to change codes and reroute reimbursements. He backdated approvals. When I refused, he threatened me. With what? I asked. Gavin leaned back, savoring it. With the truth, he said. About your husband. Sophie snapped her head toward me. Mark, I didn't do this to you, she said fast. I tried to keep you out. My chest hurt. What truth? Sophie glanced at the recorder, then at Gavin, and her voice cracked. And he knows your schedule, she added. Sophie whispered. He has a file that could end you. The room went very quiet, like the building itself was listening. Gavin reached into his briefcase and produced a manila folder, the same kind I'd seen yesterday. He didn't slide it to me. He held it up like a hostage photo. Mark Bennett, he read, casual. Narcotics discrepancy. Patient complaint. Unprofessional conduct. Recommendation. Suspension pending investigation. My stomach dropped through the chair. That's not real, Sophie said, voice shaking with rage. He wasn't even on that unit. Gavin shrugged. Paper doesn't care where you were, he said. Paper cares what you signed. Delaney stood. This meeting is over, she said, reaching for her phone. Gavin's hand snapped out and covered the recorder. If you call anyone, I release the file to state EMS and the board, he said, still calm. And I'll file a civil claim against both Bennetts for breach. Tara pushed back from the table, eyes wide. You can't. I can, Gavin said. Because you let me. Sophie's face went wet with tears she didn't wipe. She looked at me like she was begging forgiveness, and also begging me not to hate her. Mark, Ruiz is coming, she said quickly. He told me to keep Hale talking. So this was a trap, I said, and the word tasted like betrayal. It was the only way, she insisted. He's been burying people under paperwork for years. The door opened, and 2 uniformed officers stepped in with Detective Ruiz behind them. Ruiz's eyes went straight to the folder in Gavin's hand. Gavin smiled like he'd been waiting for an audience. Detective, he said. Perfect timing. Ruiz didn't blink. Mr. Hale, stand up, he said. Hands where I can see them. Gavin stood, and his thumb hit something on the recorder. A tiny beep sounded. Sophie's breath hitched. Tara's face went pale. What did you just do? Delaney demanded. Gavin's smile widened. I sent a copy, he said, to 3 different inboxes. Ruiz motioned to the officers. Take him. They moved in, and Gavin finally lost the polish. His eyes went sharp, straight at me. Enjoy your investigation, Mark, he said. It starts today. By the time I got back to the ambulance bay, my pager was already chirping with a message from my supervisor. My supervisor said, Internal Affairs wants to see you right now. Internal Affairs was a beige room, a recorder, and questions that could end my career. Ruiz and Delaney did what they promised. Within 48 hours, security confirmed my badge had been cloned using a duplicated RFID. IT pulled server logs showing Hale's vendor account accessing badge templates. Tara provided emails, careful screenshots with timestamps, where Gavin instructed her to link subject Bennett's for accountability. The complaint against me? Filed from a fake patient account created on a hospital kiosk. The narcotics missing? A spreadsheet edit made under a generic vendor login. I was cleared, but still placed on paid leave, pending review. Sophie moved out for a week, not because I asked, but because Ruiz insisted. Hale has friends, he said. He'll try to squeeze you through her. The first night she came back, she sat at our kitchen table with both hands visible like she was surrendering. I didn't start this, she said. I found it. She told me about Gavin cornering her after an audit, showing her a file with my name, something he'd manufactured, and telling her he could make it real with one email. He offered a deal, help him push approvals and keep quiet, or watch my license burn. So you used an alias, I said, voice flat. So I could access what I needed without alerting him, she replied. Ruiz coached me. Tara helped when she could. I kept you out because you run toward danger, Mark. You always do. I wanted to yell. I also wanted to put my forehead on the table and sleep for a year. Instead, we made rules. No more, trust me for a week. If there's risk, we say it out loud. We get a lawyer before we sign anything. We turn on access alerts for every account we own. And we start therapy, because love without repair is just denial with better lighting. Sophie reached across the table, fingers trembling. I know I broke something, she said. I'm asking to rebuild it. I didn't answer right away, because the truth was complicated. I loved her, and I was scared of the life we'd almost lost. Then Sophie asked, do you still want a baby after this? We didn't answer the baby question that night. We made tea and sat on the couch, knees touching, staring at a future that suddenly had sharp edges. In the weeks that followed, Gavin Hale stopped being a myth and became a case number. Ruiz told us federal investigators were stepping in because billing fraud doesn't stay internal once Medicare is involved. Delaney filed reports nonstop. Tara transferred departments and wouldn't tell anyone where, which is its own kind of sentence. Sophie gave a statement twice, once with Ruiz, once with an attorney who spoke in calm, precise phrases and treated fear like a logistical problem. Watching her tell the story in chronological steps was surreal. It made me realize how long she'd been surviving instead of living. Therapy wasn't magical. Some sessions were just us circling the same wound until we were both exhausted. I learned that I hid it to protect you can be love and control at the same time. Sophie learned that keeping someone safe by keeping them blind isn't safety, it's isolation. We put practical guards in place because feelings don't stop paperwork. We turned on bank alerts for every transfer, even $1. We locked down our credit. We added MFA to everything. I requested quarterly access logs through HR the same way I request my vaccination records. Boring, routine, non-negotiable. And we rebuilt trust the unsexy way, small truths, offered early. I'm scared. I don't know. I need help. 3 weeks later, I walked Sophie into Cedar Ridge for the first time since the stairwell, just to drop off a form. Her hand shook on the door handle, and I squeezed it until she squeezed back. Outside, she looked up at me. I don't want to lose us, she said. I don't either, I admitted. But I need to know you'll tell me when something's wrong. She nodded, eyes wet. I will. We haven't painted a nursery. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. The point is, we're finally making choices with the same information. If there's one thing I'd tell anyone watching this, it's simple. Trust your gut, but verify with receipts, dates, logs, screenshots, witnesses. Because sometimes the scariest part isn't betrayal. It's realizing how easily your life can be forged on paper.